Could you please say your name, your rank, and a little about yourself and the
Freddie
military?
Schrier. I was a third-class petty officer in the U.S. Navy. I enlisted when I was 17. I convinced my mother to sign up to permit me to enlist at 17 because the war was still on. World War II was still on. And I was concerned that had I remained a civilian, I would have been drafted into the Army a year later. It was a seaman second class, and then I was transferred to the West Coast, and I joined a ship in Portland, Oregon. I joined CVL-22, which was a small carrier. It carried about 18 planes. But I joined the Independence in Portland, Oregon as a seaman second class, put into the bosun's division, and we then went to sea at that time. As I say, World War II was still on. I was put in with the gunners division. I was used as a loader for twin 50-millimeter guns, and did some training aboard ship for that. And the ship set sail for what would have been the last major naval battle of the Pacific War. But when we sailed past Pearl Harbor, it was discovered that the navigation instruments were faulty. And they felt that the ship could not proceed beyond that. So the ship was ordered back to the United States for decommissioning. So I never actually went into battle. The captain, whom I met briefly, was a captain by the name of Smith, who was a very heavy drinker, and we knew it. But he was a fighting captain. They called him Fighting Mad Dog Smith, Fighting Mad Dog Smith. He was a full commander, but he was the captain of the Independence. And I remember one day I was at on the watch with a junior officer, and the captain was coming back from Liberty. This was in Portland, Oregon, and he was staggering down the pier, weaving back and forth, back and forth. And when he came near the gangway, the junior officer of the deck, who was a very young man, very timid, said, "Are you all right, Captain? Are you all right?" He said, "Never mind me, never mind me." And then the captain stood there on the edge of the pier, and of course there were a number of men lined up on the side of the ship, taking a last-minute smoke, whatever. And the captain looked up at them and he said, "You think I don't know how you guys jump for liberty?" See, when the ship was up at port, their gun buckets were almost level with the pier. So if you were really agile, you could jump from the gun bucket right onto the pier and go off on liberty without anybody knowing anything about it. Well, the captain was wise to this, and he said, "You think I don't know how you guys take liberty? I'll show you how you do it." And he took a running jump to jump from the pier onto a gun bucket, but he missed and he fell between the ship and the pier. Now that's a very dangerous thing. He could have been killed because the ship is, is moving back and forth. And this young ensign, who was so nervous about the whole thing, yelled down at him, "Are you all right, Captain? Are you all right, Captain?" He was so nervous. And the captain yelled up at him and he said, "I'm fine, just throw me down a dry Lucky." He wanted a cigarette. He's in the water. Anyway, but this man, however, as I said, was a true hero. Behavior. I remember the first day I came into boot camp, we were lined up, and the chief petty officer who was in charge of our company walked down the line and stared in each one of our eyes, and he made a speech, and he said to every one of us, and with his chin jutting forward, "Now you're going to pay attention to me, and to the Navy and to every order you're given, or if not, I'm gonna sink my teeth into your, he said ass, and I'm not gonna let go. I'm never gonna let go. Well, when you hear this tough-looking man say he's gonna sink his teeth into your rear end, you know, you listen and you obey. So it taught you to obey. It taught you to get along. As far as skills, well, I learned how to help to load a twin 50 machine gun, but I learned many skills when working for the Navy News, because most of the other people on the Navy News were professional newspaper people, and they taught me a good deal. And, but the Navy's a marvelous organization. It really is.
Okay, we're gonna wrap this interview up. Is there anything you wanted to add to your story before we end?
No, excepting that I recommend military service, particularly the Navy, for any young man. I think it's very beneficial. It's a great learning experience, and especially with the GI Bill and the other benefits that are available, it's something that one should do. I want to make one other point. When I was at Temple University, we had President Harry Truman come to Temple University to dedicate the Chapel of the Four Chaplains, which was a chapel that was set up to honor 4 chaplains who had given their lives during World War II. So President Truman, I was part of the group interviewing President Truman, and he was very, very impressive. He had just come back from Florida. He was tan, he was feisty, and he said to us, "Are you all veterans? I only want to talk to veterans." We were all veterans talking with him. He said, "When I came out of World War I," he said, "I had nothing available to me. I was a poor farm boy. I had no way of educating myself. There was no opportunity for me." He said, "You people are coming out of the service. You're being given the greatest opportunity of all to educate yourselves and become top citizens. Be sure you take advantage of it, or else I'm going to hear about it." And, you know, he spoke to us as if he were like a Dutch uncle, you know, giving us our marching orders. And I never forgot that, because anyone going into the military now is subject to GI Bill and other benefits, and I think it's a great experience.
Well, thank you for talking with us. We appreciate it.
Okay.
That was a great interview. I was listening